Finding Langston, Chapter 2. I like being the first in the classroom each morning so I can walk through the schoolyard and hallways before most everyone arrives and before the trouble starts. Means I gotta get up early with Daddy, ahead of the rest of the tenants, to get into the bathroom before all the hot water is used up. If I'm slow getting up, I gotta wait in line. Folks complain every morning about how many got to share it and people taking too long to do their business and how some folks got nasty habits. But for me and Daddy, it's their first time with an indoor toilet and a sink with water running through my fingers like a river. I don't miss toting water from the well in a bucket for Mama to cook or clean with, or washing up from a basin in the corner of the room. Saturday nights was the only time we had hot water in a tin tub filled to the brim with water Mama heated for my bath. Never had a toilet to flush in the outhouse. When I first came to Chicago, I pretended to have to go to the bathroom just to flush the toilet and watch the water spin in circles down a little hole. Daddy found out and fussed nearly all day about being wasteful. A sin, he said. Been here 2 months now, but still can't get enough of that water. One spout for hot, one for cold. I make a cup with my hands and move them from side to side to make the water just the right amount of both to wash up. I get to school earlier than nearly everyone in my class and sit at the front nearest to my teacher, Mrs. Robbins, where I can pretend I don't hear the laughing and talking in back of me. Mrs. Robbins act like she doesn't hear it either, 'cause she sure doesn't stop it. My schoolmates come in one by one. "Hey, country boy," someone says as they pass my desk. Country boy's been my name since I came to Chicago, the name everyone in class says when they point at my run-over shoes and laugh at the overalls I still wear, and the way I speak. Sometimes Mrs. Robbins will ask me to repeat my words, and that's when the whispers and the laughs behind start up. Even when I know the answer to questions, I don't raise my hand. I'm still waiting on Daddy to buy me pants and a belt and shoes that ain't worn through the soles, so I can look like the boys here in the North. The day stretches longer than an Alabama road, and I do my best to pay attention. But I'm really just waiting for the bell to ring. "Need any help today, Miss Robbins?" I ask on my way out of the classroom. "Not today, hon," she says, turning off the lights to go home. I take my time walking down the stairs, running my hands along the cinder block walls and stopping to tie my shoes. I duck into the bathroom to wash my hands, even though there ain't a speck of dirt on them. Finally, I open the door that leads out onto the schoolyard. It's empty, quiet. I'm safe. The door closes behind me with a click. But before I get 3 steps into the yard, I see them. All 3 of them, standing with their backs against the wall, waiting for me. Lyman's the leader. Not quite as tall as me, but thin as a rail. Got one eye a little smaller than the other, but not too small to see me from a mile away. I ignore him. "Keep to yourself," Daddy always says, "and you'll stay out of trouble." First shove hits me square in the back. "You ignoring me?" Errol and Clem start laughing. They're not as mean as Lyman, but they're trying. Lyman does the talking. They do the laughing. Kind of like a preacher preaching the gospel and the congregation shouting, "Amen." I heard Lyman once bothered a boy so bad, he left Haynes and started in a school across town. No chance Daddy moving me to another school. Course, he never even seen Lyman, Errol, and Clem working me over from the time I get to school to the time I go home. I ain't sure, but I'm willing to bet their families came from the South just like mine. Bet their mamas and daddies' words tumble out slow and lazy just like mine. Bet they worked fields with a plow and a mule just like mine. Outside school, I've seen some of the kids from my school walking with their families. And something about the way they talk and laugh a little too loud tells me they ain't been here as long as they like folks at school to believe. Some folks forget where they came from as soon as they step off the train at Union Station. We left Alabama in the hottest month of the year, months after the sweet-smelling magnolia buds appeared on the trees. and right after we buried Mama. At her funeral, I stood at Mama's grave holding Grandma's hand, and we sang, "His eye is on the sparrow," and "Precious Lord, take my hand," and all her favorite hymns right along with the choir who came from church. Sang loud enough so no one would notice Daddy's lips weren't moving. Back at the house, folks from church piled my plate with potato salad and fried chicken and told me, "Sit down, baby, and eat." But for the first time ever, I couldn't make myself swallow a bite. I sat in the corner, watching people filling up the rooms where Mama used to. Everywhere I looked, I saw her sewing or soaking her feet or laughing with Daddy or fixing me breakfast. After everyone went home and all the food was put away, Mama stayed with me in the house. I guess that's why barely 1 week later, Daddy made me wear my itchy, hot Sunday clothes to the train depot. Sweat ran down my back till it tickled. Me and Daddy squeezed onto the last seats near the engine. So many people. Some folks had to stand. In the colored section, we could smell the smoke and the air was thick. The white car was at the end of the train. Folks said with plenty of seats and air clean and fresh, a curtain separated the colored car from the white, and only the porters and the conductor could pass through. I can't think about all that now, not with Lyman on my heels. I walk faster. Back home, I had friends. Not a lot, but enough to make me feel like I fit. At lunch outside, we'd play marbles together, sometimes climb the tree in the back of the school. No one laughed when I talked or pointed at my run-over shoes and overalls. Jimmy had a mama who drank. Sometimes he came to school with no lunch pail, and I'd share what I had. Roland didn't have a daddy, but we didn't talk about those things, just about trading marbles and stuff I barely remember now. Lyman steps in front of me, stopping me short. "We're talking to you, and you ain't answering," I hear the laughing in back of me. "What'd you say?" I ask. And then it starts. The Amen choir repeats, "What'd you say?" in a drawl sounds nothing like me. I take a step back and land on Errol's toes. He shoves me into Lyman. Clem stands off to the side, watching with wide eyes. I try to go around, first one side, then the other. Finally, I wait while Lyman and Errol push and shove me back and forth. If I'm quiet, they'll get tired and move on. I feel a slap on the back of my neck, and they start to move away down the block. Clem's wide eyes look back at me, staring. Not nice, but not mean either. I pick up my satchel that dropped. I pull down my shirt and head home to wait alone for Daddy. Chapter 3. At home, I check the cabinet for something, anything to eat, and find some crackers. Daddy brings home our dinner after work, throws some things together in a pot he heats on our hot plate, and we eat quiet while our spoons bang the tin plates. Daddy's so tired he goes right to bed after. I clean up best I can, then sit up at the table with a lamp, doing schoolwork. Wash up and go to bed. Across from Daddy in my bed, I listen to his snoring. Sometimes he talks a little bit in his sleep, calls out, "Tina," his nickname for Mama, in his sleep. Laughs like he used to before she got sick. But when he gets up, his face is back to what it's been since she passed. The sound in our apartment come alive at night. Scratching inside the walls, I've seen rats as big as possums running in the halls. At night, they sound even bigger. Nothing keeps Daddy awake, and I still can't make myself get used to the loud voices down on the stoop below. "Let the Good Times Roll" playing on the radio next door. A mother trying to quiet her crying baby. Daddy snores, so close they sound like he's breathing in my ear. The brakes of the L train screeching as it comes into the station. I used to fall asleep to the sound of crickets and owls. Sometimes they were so loud I'd cover my head with my pillow. Mama and Daddy stayed awake after I was in bed, whispering, laughing softly. Sometimes I could hear kissing and other things too. I thought I knew what loud was until I came to Chicago. I dream of Mama too, only not at night. During the day is when I think of her. Most of the boys I knew had a house full of brothers and sisters. I wasn't no one growing up and only like me. I never told no one, but I loved being alone with Mama. Wouldn't want it no other way. Heard womenfolk whisper once in church how it was sad Tina couldn't have no more children after me. But Mama made it seem like I was all she ever wanted, like I filled her up, like any more would have been too much. She fussed after me. Sometimes, when she was tired, she said I worked her nerves, but there wasn't nothing to it. Time I'd go out and come back again, her face lit up like I was a soldier home on leave. She never worried about me being a mama's boy, like some folks said. She loved me hard as she could until she left this world. Streetlights shine through the window in the front of the room. In Alabama, only lights I saw at night were the moon and stars, sometimes so bright a curtain couldn't block 'em out. I fall asleep most nights listening to Daddy snoring, but wishing for the sounds of an Alabama night. There's a letter waiting today when I get home from school, sticking out of the mail slot 4D. It has my daddy's name written on it, big wiggly letters on the front of the envelope. I hold it up, trying to see the words, but can't. I'll have to wait for Daddy to get home to open it. Upstairs, the apartment is hot and stuffy, even with the windows open. I lie down on my bed, and it creaks as I turn on my side to face the wall. I pick at the yellowed pages of the Chicago Defender papering over the wall. I close my eyes and try to picture Mama. I can still see her smile with the space between her teeth, smooth brown skin and eyes that laughed along with her. Before I know it, the tears start and won't stop. Can't believe how much I want to hear her just say my name or kiss my cheek at night. Just feel her hand rub my head like she did at night when she thought I was asleep. Sometimes I don't want to remember because with the remembering comes the hurting. I can let the water go when Daddy's not home, but when he is, I pinch myself to stop thinking about home and Mama and how my heart is missing her so much it aches. I gotta pinch myself so hard, I left a mark once. Only thing worse than crying in front of Daddy is hearing Daddy fuss when I do. I sit up when I hear Daddy's key in the door. He comes in holding a grocery sack in his hand. "What are you doing in bed?" he asked. "Nothing, sir. Tired is all," I stutter, hoping my eyes ain't so puffy. "You ain't sick, is you?" he asked. Can't tell if he's worried or mad. "No, sir, I ain't sick." He moves to me, and his rough hand reaches out. I jump back, but he's just reaching to touch my forehead. "Ain't no fever," he says, and sets down the groceries on the table. While Daddy heats up supper, I sit on my bed looking out over schoolwork. The pot of beans bubbles. Daddy sets out 2 plates, 2 spoons, and a loaf of bread. Back home, Daddy never cooked a meal. We both got up every morning to a hot breakfast of eggs and grits and sausage. The smell of it would wake me up before Daddy even called me to get a move on. Mama packed my lunch pail for school, Daddy's for the field. She'd stand over us and watch us eat. "Look at my hungry boys," she'd smile as we scraped up sausage, grits, and eggs. Since we left Alabama, we eat oatmeal for breakfast with a piece of toast Daddy can't help from burning. "How's school?" Daddy asked. I look up surprised. He never asks about school. "Fine," I answer. We take a few more bites in silence. Teacher says I'm real good at my spelling words. Best in the class. "Mm-hmm," Daddy answers. I can tell he's done talking. I clear our plates and put them in the sink. I turn to the faucet to the sputtering cold water. "No hot water," I say to Daddy. "Leave 'em be for now," he says. "I'll get 'em in the morning." I go to the table, turn on the lamp, and start my schoolwork. I see the letters sitting on top of my books. "Daddy, I forgot. This came today," I say, handing him the letter. He takes his time looking at the writing, turns it over in his hands. "Who's it from?" I ask, wishing he'd hurry up and open it. He turns and goes to sit on the bed, still not opening the letter. "Daddy?" I ask. I go to the bed. "I'll look at it in the morning," he says. "Too tired to read right now." "Want me to read it to you?" He stands then, his voice low and mad. "You think I can't read?" "No, Daddy, it's just if you're tired is all." I said I'll read it in the morning. Now go get your schoolwork. He leaves the letter on the bed, grabs his towel from the hook by the bed, and heads down to the hall to the bathroom.